Hi guys, so yeah, this is Aaron Dade, and this is the 4 steps to listening. This is your second step, which is the receive video. Sorry that I haven't revisited videos for a while. We've been quite busy, and so for those of you that have waited for a while, I apologize, and I thank you very much though for waiting. But here's your receive video, and when you're listening to somebody, you really want to pay attention to the things that they say, how they react to certain things. That's the first part of listening, is to really listen to what they're saying and understand what you're hearing. The receiving part is to really be able to walk 5 miles in somebody else's shoes. It's not just a mile in somebody else's shoes. That explains it, but it doesn't really explain it the godly way. You've got to be able to really feel how their feet would feel walking in whatever they're walking through. For me, it was being lost without God. I had to understand and really receive how my wife could have felt being lost without God, or having a hard time hearing Him. Or you really have to receive, for those of you in restoration, how your spouse is feeling. This will enable you to soften your heart and to be able to hear them instead of just pay attention to their actions. Because a lot of times we kind of get caught up in, well, this person did this or that person did that, and you're not really receiving what's going on with them in particular. So I really want to highlight Luke, which is chapter 1, and we'll start at verse 42, where it's talking about Elizabeth, who was an elderly woman that God promised a baby to. This comes before Mary. And Elizabeth started to get older in age, and everybody was pretty much laughing at her. Like, that's not going to happen, that's not going to happen, that's not going to happen. And it did. And when Elizabeth found out that Mary was coming over, as the word says, and she cried out with a loud voice and said, "Blessed are among women, and blessed is the fruit of your womb." And verse 41 really highlights, when Elizabeth heard Mary's greeting, the baby leaped in her womb, and Elizabeth was filled with the Holy Spirit. So really what we're talking about here is Elizabeth was so excited by Mary just coming to her house. And this isn't just anybody, this is Jesus' mother. And just by hearing that, the baby inside of her body jumped in the womb. That's how much excitement. That's walking 5 miles in somebody else's shoes. Really being able to understand how that person is feeling at that given time from a godly perspective, giving them grace and mercy for their actions. Because a lot of times grace and mercy, it's not sexy. It doesn't sound fun. It's really very difficult to really receive that yourself, let alone give it to somebody else. But this is where, I really love this verse because it highlights receiving. Elizabeth could just receive that blessing that an angel came to Mary. She was just hearing that Mary was coming by her house. She just heard of it, and it made the baby in her womb jump. That's really receiving the Lord's blessing. And I think that a lot of times when we get in these, especially restoration situations, where you're trying to really receive a message from the Lord, or you're trying to receive what your spouse is saying to you, it's really very difficult when you're really listening to them and you have so much bitterness, frustration, anger, whatever may be happening to you. You can't really receive what God really wants you to receive. And a lot of that is grace and mercy for your spouse, and grace and mercy for yourself, and to move on from that. So, this receive video is really just about understanding where your spouse is and being able to receive that, and not just you heard them, you listened to what they said, you watched their hand movements, you watched how they reacted in certain things, and understand their emotional priorities. And this receive stage is really about you. You received it, and now it's time to get to the next part, which is processing. Before I start responding, what am I going to say? What am I trying to say? What am I trying to get across before I just start opening my mouth and saying something? I learned this a long time ago, that, I used to just say whatever came off the top of my head. I never really thought about it, or I never really felt how somebody else was feeling. I just started talking. And then what I realized, when I could receive how somebody else was feeling, are the things that I was saying to them. And so I think that in this, really, and what God really revealed to me is, and it's a funny story, because I one day took our 3 kids out to the grocery store, and I was really, I was excited always to hang out with them, but when I hang out with them in a public setting, I'm a person of order. I'm not used to a whole bunch of chaos or anything like that. So if you've ever taken the 3 children to the grocery store by yourself, there's going to be a little bit of chaos. But I hadn't done this in so long. So when I first did it, I remember coming back home and thinking to myself, that must have been really difficult to do for years by yourself. I may not have been happy with my wife that we were separated, but the timing that we were separated from, being a single mom, and, I remember being at the store and people are looking at you a certain way, and, now my son wants something to eat all the time. My daughter wants something. She wants a new toy. The other child wants to go somewhere. Everybody's walking in different directions, and now I can't focus on what I'm actually in the store to get. So I was able to receive something from her, and God was really showing to me, see how difficult that was to do. And you're only doing this one day. She did this for 3 years. So just kind of having that grace and mercy in my heart, it really softened my heart for my spouse, so I could understand what she had actually gone through. So I really want you guys to, in the 4 steps listening, be able to receive how your spouse is feeling, their situations, not just your own. Because honestly, more times than not, it's these conversations, especially when I'm mentoring with men, or when even I talk to women, it's this happened to me, me. And it's not really, well, I did this to them, or I planted this seed, or really any accountability. And I experienced the same thing where I had to have some accountability. And so this is that second step, that second stage, where you're really receiving what that person has said to you while you were listening. We've got 2 more stages to go. Now we'll talk to you guys soon. This is Aaron Dade.